Well, let me start with you on this one, Blair. I'll open the court to you. Which player you want to start with? Who do you want to highlight initially on Gambit?
Right now, at least based on this particular tournament, has to be Hobbit, right? I mean, the guy has just been popping off. And when you have someone like Shiro, Axel was the MVP of the previous event, and you have these players, and even Nafani and Inters, right? Like, you look at these two players, and they get easily outshined by the likes of a Shiro or an Axel. But when they have to get those kills, they get those kills. They look almost unplayable at times, which is so impressive for me personally. But Hobbit has to be the guy, not just in this tournament, but overall. He's a veteran here. Like, he's the guy who's been there, done that. I feel like he is the pillar. He is the glue holding this team, not holding them together, but more like who's elevated them to what they are right now. I feel like when LANs do eventually take place, I'm still very curious. I'm still going to be a little, cynical about how this Gambit team is going to perform on LAN. But if they do click on LAN as well, the way they are right now, Hobbit will be the guy who makes it happen, in my opinion.
Okay.
And individually as well, the way he's popping off right now, not just right now, in the past few tournaments as well, where he's able to outshine the likes of Ashiro and Axel, I feel like they're already a great team. They're already the best team in the world. And Hobbit's also playing at this level, the guy who you don't really expect to be kind of like the star player or to be a high, consistent fragger. I feel like you have to talk about him. I mean, the guy is a beast. And when you have a team like that and you are still able to stand out, that says something.
All right, what do you think, SEO Hobbit?
I mean, I highlighted Hobbit back. I remember I did a prediction video before Katowice, for example, of teams to watch. And I actually chose Gambit as one of the teams you should keep an eye on them. And Hobbit was the reason, because he showed signs that he was going from, 2017 was his best career year, right? It was with the PGL major and everything. Yeah. And then he had downward trend, like he was hovering that one area, like really struggling. But then suddenly he jumped right up as soon as he gets given this roster around him, who clearly respect him, as well as actually giving him roles to have room. And I actually started to have a look separately how well Hobbit actually plays versus Na'Vi specifically, because obviously he's having a great year career-wise. And somehow, this year versus Na'Vi, he's performing about 2 to 3 times better than he previously did. Like, when it comes to previous, whether it's rosters, obviously, that's probably a big factor of this. But, for example, into 16 maps, he's plus 57, which I would not have expected against Na'Vi as an opposition. Right, that's like an instant thing. But I'm going to actually go with Nafani. Like, I think he's probably one of the more important ones, because especially when you consider Boomich on the other side, like that's going to be a clear heads clashing situation. Boomich going down banana with MP9, Nafani there also meeting him with an AK or Galil. They just go straight head to head, right? And in the previous meeting this turn, especially on Mirage, especially, I think it was that Nafani just popped off 9 and 3 in opening duels. He was running the show pretty much, 24 kills. It was his map, and obviously considering what happened in that game or that matchup on Ancient, we're probably going to see that pick change, right, from the Gambit side, and we probably would see Mirage come back in, and that's where Nafani feels comfortable.
The sad thing is as well, even though, like I say, when you have a player like Simple and he has maps off, but even every series, the numbers are always there. Every tournament, he's one of the best players. The stupid thing is, it's actually wild that Gambit is the team that actually lose to Na'Vi, and that Na'Vi can sort of be the kryptonite for him. I mean, we'll get into the map view. That's heavily one of the reasons why. But I also think if you just look stylistically, first of all, Gambit's style should crush Na'Vi flat. Like they actually have the perfect style for them. And then secondly, and this is what really kills me, I tell you one of the best ways that you can beat someone who's like an individual god. Astralis already showed you this. You just have 2 or 3 players who play not quite as well, but they're all really good in each game. So if Astralis played against Na'Vi, and Device had his really good game, and Megas had a really good CT half, and then Device had Dupree had a really good T half, yeah, it's over. Like, one guy can't beat everyone, especially not if their players are playing well. Like, he has to have some give. Yeah, he can always outperform the other starter, but you don't get to do that when you play against an Astralis, a Gambit, etc. Because that trio for Gambit, the Axile Hobbit, because now Hobbit's really come up, and Shiro, you add all 3 together, that is OP as fuck. They already had arguably the best style in the game. That 3 combo fragging power. People can have an up map off. They're still a favourite to win the map, pretty much. So I think it's wild how strong. Because obviously we all highlight as analysts what a brilliant style of play, and the fact that they're so experienced to do this, and the coach. But even just the fragging in the server is very impressive. Blair?
Yeah, but I think that tends to get overshadowed by just the style, right? Like you don't really see too many mistakes being made, but you notice at times, I think it was that first Ancient game. Who was it who picked it against? Was it G2? Wait, let me just take a look here. I think it was G2. Whoever it was.
FPX? Oh no, wait a second. Let me double check that actually.
Yeah, it was
yeah.
G2. Yeah, it was
Oh,
G2.
sorry,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Listen, I think it was like Nafany, right? Like you said, you have Hobbit, you have Shiro, you have Axel, and Nafany T-side, he was just popping heads, like Nico just holding an angle with his deagle, and he just like doesn't a jiggle, he just wide swing pops his head. And it's not it's not like an outlier. We've seen Nafany do that. We've seen even Inters, and Nafany actually praises a lot. When a lot of these DreamHack Open interviews I did with him last year, he used to keep mentioning like Inters might be kind of like the bitch of the team where he does some of the more more supportive elements and everything. But if needs be, like he actually said, like he, in my opinion, is probably the best aimer, which I feel is a little too much when you have Shiro and Axel. No, let's be real there. But the guy can still hold its own. And when you see some of the more, that's the thing, you don't really get to see too many scrappy rounds with Gambit, right? Everything is clean. They lose a round, they lose it, they save, whatever happens. And when they win the round, it's just a clinical precision. So you don't really get to see the players really pop off. Or maybe like you might have a couple of rounds with Shiro with the AWP holding aside, just, no fast scoping fools. But because you don't get to see too many messy rounds coming out from Gambit because they just win most of their games, I feel like you don't really get to see the individuals have their multi-kill rounds, just pop off and just go for this crazy plays like a Simple does, like Simple had their 1v4, for example, the previous game, or Nico for that matter. And I feel like that is why we don't really, I wouldn't say rate, but rather we don't really talk about these players as individuals, apart from obviously Axel and Shiro. But I feel that's the thing. That is very impressive. Think about it. You have such sick players, but yet they don't really have a chance to shine because you're so good as a team. I feel that's just very impressive for Gambit.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.